Hi, hello, welcome back to class. Today we are talking about surveys in psychology. So let's begin. If you want to know what 1,000 people think, you cannot interview all of them individually. You need a tool that scales. All right. So that tool is survey. And in the right hands, it is one of the most powerful instruments in psychology research. But a bad survey question produces data that is worse than useless. Okay, it produces confident sounding nonsense. Today, we are going to learn the difference. Hi, I'm Viola, and welcome back to class. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. Alright, so what is survey? Surveys are tools that present a series of questions or statements to participants, asking them to respond. Also, they are the most frequently used method for gathering information quickly. They are also cheap, they scale, and they are flexible. That means they are usable in person, by mail, or even digitally, right? Okay. So, you can see all that in this particular card. So there are three types of surveys. All right. We have the questionnaires. These are self-administered written responses. Okay. And we have the interviews. These are research-led verbal responses. And we have the electronic surveys that we see on online platforms and all that. You know what I'm talking about. All right, and the process of conducting a survey has 5 steps. Number one is to conceive the research problem. Step two is to design the instrument. Step three is sample the population. Step four, you conduct the data collection, and then you interpret the result. Yes. So you must know that every step matters. But step two, which is design the instrument, is where most surveys fail. Alright, so the instrument, which is survey, is only as good as the question inside it, or the questions inside of it. Okay, so a good question, as you can see on my left the left column, a good question is specific, it is also measurable, it also has just one idea. All right, so it's one idea per question. Okay. Yeah, so a good question also is very, very clear. It's also very observable and quantifiable. So an example of that would be like on a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied are you with your work life balance? You see, so that's very specific, right? It's measurable because, on a scale of 1 to 10, okay, and also it has one idea per question, right? Yes. Also, you can compare it. It's comparable across respondent. Okay. Now, let's compare it to this weak question over here, which is: are you happy and productive at work? You see that this has two ideas in one question. If someone says, assuming if someone says no, okay, your survey has options: yes, no, maybe, something like that, right? And the person chooses no. No to what? Because the question has two ideas inside. It's talking about productivity, it's talking about happiness. It's not specific. Okay, so if they say no, what are they saying no to exactly? Right? Which one are they disagreeing with? Okay, so the data is even contaminated before it is collected. Okay, so also we have seen a second pair of good question here, like how many hours of sleep do you get on a typical weeknight? Okay, so this is very clear. It's a very clear question. It's observable, it's quantifiable, because there are hours that can be measured. All right, and we are talking about a particular, it has one idea. We're talking about your a weeknight. Okay, so it's very good than when you just ask a question like, do you sleep enough? Enough is not defined, you see, and every respondent has a different threshold in their head. Everybody has a different idea of what enough is in their head. Okay, so the data will reflect those different threshold that the respondents have, and not the accurate truth that you need about sleep. All right, okay, so let's move on to the next slide. Now we are going to apply this. We're going to talk about this using a real life example. Okay, so here Nana designs a 12-question electronic survey targeting 300 young professionals aged 22 to 35. So she follows all 5 survey steps carefully, as I have mentioned in the previous slide, from defining the problem to interpreting the output, right? Okay, so she uses a mix of Likert scale questions, okay, which is something like rate your satisfaction from 1 to 5. That's an example of the Likert scale question, right? And she also uses open-ended questions like, what would make you switch banks? This is an open-ended question, right? It demands an answer. So this different format that Nana has used would reveal different layers of information that she needs. Okay, so what was the finding of Nana's survey? The finding was that 78% of respondents cited poor mobile app experience as their primary reason for switching banks, and this is very empirical. It is also very measurable and is actionable data, right? We can do something about it. There can be a change. We can control this situation. That's one goal of psychology. Okay, so you see how this has made things easy. There can be at least change there. So now this market research that Nana did was not a guess, right? It was not an assumption too. Okay, so this is exactly how survey research drives real world decisions. All right, so you see there's a person called Floyd Flower, and Floyd Flower's 2014 text on survey research methods confirms that well-designed surveys remain one of the most reliable sources of behavioral data available across social science discipline. All right, so this was from one of her publications, or his publications, during 2014, right? The survey research methods, you can go check that out. So Nana's company rebuilt their mobile app after this market research, and that decision was grounded in data, not opinion, neither assumptions. Okay, so what is our key takeaway from this class. Number one, surveys are the fastest way to gather information from large populations. From large populations. It's also very cheap, it's accessible and flexible. Right. Number two is the quality of your data depends entirely on the quality of your questions. Sorry. So you should know that vague questions produce data that looks real but actually means nothing. Number three is there are 3 types of surveys. Do not forget, we have the questionnaires, interviews, and electronic surveys. Right. Correct. So the right one depends on your research goal. All right, it depends on your research goal. It depends on the breadth, the depth, the anonymity, or speed. So any one of them here depends on you and your goal. Okay. All right. So in our next class, we're going to talk about questionnaires and interviews side by side. We're going to compare them. It's going to be a direct comparison. We're going to talk about when does each of them win and when you should use both. Okay, so that will be kind of our final class for research. No, is it research methods? Yeah, research methods. I think so. Yeah, the methods we use for research. Yes. So the next classes from there, we're going to talk about something different, but not like it's going to be different. It's going to still be connected, because all my classes are connected, right? All right, I will see you in the next class. Bye.